Depression is a sacred invitation to look within and discover our true essence.
Depression is like a river that overflows, bringing to the surface what was buried within our being.
Every tear shed is a drop of wisdom on our journey of self-discovery.
True transformation arises when we accept our shadows as teachers on our journey.
Hello, I'm Ruby and Oliver, and today I bring you an extraordinary episode of The Power of the Unconscious. I'm honored to welcome two ancestral masters whose wisdom has transcended centuries. Rumi, the mystical poet who revolutionized our understanding of love and spirituality, and Aristotle, the Greek philosopher who forever changed the way we think about virtue and happiness. In this episode, we will dive into a profoundly transformative theme. Depression is a divine blessing. We will explore how depression, often seen as a curse, can actually be a divine gift that guides us to self-knowledge. This is not just another debate about depression. It is a journey through ancient wisdom that will show you how to transform moments of darkness into opportunities for spiritual growth. You will discover why we flee from ourselves until pain forces us to look within, how sadness can be a portal to spiritual awakening, and why sometimes we need to lose the meaning of life to find its true significance. A conversation that promises to transform your perspective on emotional pain, loneliness, and the true purpose of suffering in our journey of evolution. A deep and delicate question that many of us have faced or know someone who is facing. Rumi, is depression a punishment or a divine opportunity for self-knowledge?
Depression, often seen as a dark and oppressive state, can be better understood as a sacred opportunity for self-knowledge. When we find ourselves immersed in sadness, there is a chance to look within, to examine the roots of our pain. It's as if the universe is telling us that by silencing the external voices and distractions of life, we can begin to hear our own essence, the one that got lost in the rush of daily life. Imagine a river overflowing, carrying debris and dirt. Depression is like that moment when the water is forced to change its course, taking away everything that no longer serves. This diversion is an invitation to purification, so that inner truth and beauty can emerge. Suffering provides a space where we can contemplate the parts of ourselves that have been neglected or ignored. And just like the water that calms after the storm, we find clarity after accepting the pain. Therefore, instead of seeing depression as a punishment, we can view it as an eloquent call of love, a reminder that true health and wholeness arise when we allow ourselves to feel and, through that, get to know ourselves better. In this space of vulnerability, the opportunity arises to discover new strengths, resilience, and a deeper understanding of the love that resides within each of us. It is in the darkness that the shine of the stars becomes more evident, and that shine can be the guide on our journey of self-discovery.
What a transformative perspective, Rumi. The analogy of the overflowing river is very powerful. Aristotle, I would like to hear your view on this same question. Is depression a punishment or an opportunity for self-knowledge?
Depression, when viewed from a broader perspective, can be characterized as an invitation to deep reflection, a moment that forces us to confront aspects of our life and ourselves that often remain in the shadows. Instead of considering it merely as a punishment, we can look at depression as an opportunity, akin to a difficult storm that brings to the surface what was buried in the soil. This perspective reflects the practice of virtue and active engagement in life. When we face moments of deep sadness, we are propelled to examine our actions, our relationships, and what we truly consider to be good. Like an archer who needs to have clarity of the target before shooting the arrow, in depression, we may encounter the opportunity to redirect our focus. By seeking to understand the pain, we are challenged to ask, what truly brings me happiness and meaning? In this sense, the experience of depression can guide us towards virtue and self-knowledge. It is up to us to embrace this pain, work with it, and let it teach us. It is a process that takes time and effort, but in the end, it can reveal valuable insights about who we are and why we care about certain things in life. Therefore, instead of a punishment, depression can be a portal to a greater understanding of our own soul and our higher goals. It is a request for us to seek true happiness, purifying what is superficial and what truly nourishes our being.
What deeply complementary visions. Both show us that depression, although painful, can be a call to inner transformation. Let's move on to the next question. But before we continue, let me give you an amazing tip. Did you know that it's very easy to get ahead of 99% of people, succeeding in everything you want for your life? I'll leave a link below in the first comment to a book that changed my perspective on various aspects of my mind, and that has been helping thousands of people find clarity and confidence to achieve their goals and dreams. Don't forget to check it out. I'm sure you'll love it. This is a very intriguing question that connects with our previous conversation about depression. Rumi, is emotional suffering really the portal to true inner transformation?
Emotional suffering is indeed one of the most powerful portals to our inner transformation. It is like a mirror that shows us aspects of ourselves that we usually prefer to ignore. When emotional pain visits us, it invites us to a deep introspection, revealing deeper layers of our being. Imagine a dancing poet in a trance, expressing his sadness over the loss of a friend. Through dance, he not only feels the pain but transforms it into something beautiful and meaningful. It is in this conscious surrender that we find the true alchemy of transformation, not fleeing from pain, but dancing with it. When we embrace our suffering instead of resisting it, we begin to free ourselves from old patterns and limiting beliefs. Like grass bending in the wind, we learn to be flexible in the face of emotional storms, discovering our true essence in the process. Suffering, when lived with awareness, becomes a path to a deeper understanding of ourselves and universal love. It is through this journey of pain and acceptance that we truly begin to know ourselves in our entirety.
What a beautiful way to see suffering, Rumi. And you, Aristotle, how do you see this relationship between emotional suffering and inner transformation?
Rubian, emotional suffering acts as a powerful catalyst in our journey of transformation. Just like fire purifies metal, emotional difficulties have the potential to refine our essence, leading us to deeply question our values and life choices. Think of an archer focused on his target. When circumstances become challenging, he needs to adjust his stance and strengthen his concentration. Suffering acts similarly, forcing us to realign our focus with what truly matters, developing virtues like resilience and empathy in the process. But it is important to understand that this transformation is not instantaneous. It is a journey that requires time, deep reflection, and a genuine commitment to actions that promote good, both for ourselves and for others. Emotional suffering, when embraced with wisdom, can guide us towards a more virtuous and fulfilling life.
Extraordinary how each experience, even the painful ones, carries within it a seed of transformation. And for you who are noticing the quality of this conversation and the depth and importance of what we are discussing here, please help us by leaving your like and also comment on what you would like to see here on our channel. I sincerely thank you for your help. Continuing here, let's address a question that deeply touches our human essence. Rumi, why do we flee from ourselves until pain forces us to look within?
Rubian, this is a question that reveals much about our human nature. Fleeing from ourselves is like an instinctive reflex, born from our desire to avoid any type of discomfort. It's fascinating how we create an elaborate external spectacle, filling our lives with distractions and occupations, all to avoid facing what is happening inside us. Imagine we are like actors on a stage, so absorbed in playing our roles that we forget who we really are behind the masks. But life, in its wisdom, has ways of breaking this theater. Pain, whether through a deep loss, unrequited love, or an existential crisis, acts like that moment when the curtains fall and we are forced to confront our true reality. It is in this encounter with our vulnerability that we discover a new strength. Pain becomes a catalyst for transformation, like a gardener pruning a plant so that it can bloom with more vigor. It is through this breaking that the possibility of authentic rebirth arises.
What a profound analogy about the theater of life, Aristotle. And from your perspective, why is this fleeing from ourselves so common until pain forces us to look within?
Look, Rubian, this tendency to escape from ourselves reflects something that Aristotle understood well, our natural deviation from the path of virtue and self-knowledge. When we are comfortable, we tend to seek momentary satisfactions that distance us from our essence. Pain then arises as an inexorable messenger of truth, forcing us to question our actions and deeper motivations. It's like an alarm clock ringing when we are in deep sleep. It can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary to wake us up to reality. It's interesting to note that this escape continues until we are confronted with that decisive moment where there is nowhere left to run. It is there, in the encounter with our true human condition, that we begin to seek what Aristotle called the supreme good of fulfilling life, where virtues are cultivated through genuine self-knowledge.
Fascinating how both illustrate that sometimes we need pain as a strict teacher to reconnect with our true essence. Let's move on. Let's explore a different perspective on a topic we've touched on before. Rumi, is it possible to see depression as a guide rather than an enemy?
Yes, Rubian, it is definitely possible. Depression can be seen as a demanding teacher inviting us on a deeper journey of self-discovery. Instead of treating it as an enemy to be fought, we can view it as an indicator that something in our lives needs attention and care. Think of a diver who needs to descend to the depths of the ocean. Initially, the darkness and pressure may seem frightening, but it is precisely in those depths that we find the most valuable treasures. Depression pressures us to reflect on our emotions, relationships, and fundamental beliefs. When we manage to look at depression as a guide, we open space for true transformation. The most challenging experiences often carry within them the seeds of our renewal. It's like a garden in winter. Although it may seem lifeless on the surface, beneath the soil, a whole process of renewal is happening, necessary for the blossoming of spring.
What a transformative perspective, Rumi. Aristotle, how do you see this possibility of viewing depression as a guide instead of an enemy?
Rubian, depression can indeed be seen as a guide that leads us to confront the deeper parts of ourselves. It is a moment that reveals fears, insecurities, and aspects of life that we may have been ignoring. Imagine a river that, over time, diverts its course, creating new banks that we did not know. This change, although initially uncomfortable, can teach us about the need for structure and purpose in our lives. Instead of resisting this emotional wave, we can embrace it, realizing that pain is often a call to reevaluate our values and priorities. Like an archer adjusting their angle after missing the target, we can use depression as an opportunity to reorient our path. Thus, it transforms into a fertile space for us to plant seeds of new ideas, changes, and personal growth.
It's impressive how both views show us that even in the darkest moments, there is a transformative potential waiting to be discovered. Let's move on to our next question. Continuing our reflection on emotional challenges, we arrive at a very significant question. Rumi, can deep sadness be the beginning of a spiritual journey?
Without a doubt, Rubian. Deep sadness has an impressive transformative potential in our spiritual journey. When we dive into this state of intense vulnerability, it's as if a veil is lifted, allowing us to see beyond the superficial appearances of life. It reminds me of the story of a Persian poet who, upon losing a dear friend, found in dancing under the moonlight a way to express not only his pain but also his search for the divine. Each movement became a silent prayer, transforming lament into a bridge between the human and the sacred. This transformation of pain into expression of love and creativity shows us how sadness can be a portal to deeper dimensions of being. When we allow ourselves to truly feel, each tear becomes a drop of wisdom, each moment of pain an opportunity for spiritual rebirth.
What a beautiful perspective on the transformation of pain into art and spirituality. Aristotle, how do you see this relationship between deep sadness and spiritual awakening?
Rubian, deep sadness is like a powerful force that awakens us to greater truths. When we are touched by it, the superficial layers of life dissolve, and we find ourselves confronted with deeper existential questions. It's like when the soil is prepared to receive a new seed, the deeper the plow penetrates, the greater the potential for vigorous growth. Sadness leads us to question our beliefs, values, and what truly matters in our lives. This process of forced introspection often leads us on a quest for meaning that transcends the mundane. Sadness then becomes a path to virtue and the greater good, teaching us that true happiness is not in the absence of pain, but in the ability to find meaning through it.
It's remarkable how sadness can be this sacred portal to our spiritual evolution. leading us to profound discoveries about our own essence. Let's move on to the next question. Let's explore a deep question that connects with everything we've discussed so far. Rumi, what does depression reveal to us about the shadows we ignore in our lives?
Depression, Rubian, acts as a powerful mirror reflecting the parts of ourselves that we try to hide. Think of a serene lake, where the calm surface conceals the storms that stir its depths. Depression is like a wind that disturbs this lake, revealing the dirt and debris that were invisible. Often, we live in a state of denial, pushing our pains, fears, and unresolved emotions under the rug. When depression sets in, it serves as a call to action, a reminder that these shadows cannot be buried indefinitely. It's a moment of intense introspection, where we are challenged to question our beliefs and behaviors. Depression invites us to look within and embrace everything we have been reluctant to acknowledge. By doing so, we can begin to walk a path of healing and transformation, where our shadows become teachers, guiding us to a state of greater self-awareness and freedom.
What a profound perspective, Rumi. Aristotle, how do you see these shadows that depression reveals to us?
Rubian, depression is a powerful manifestation that confronts us with the darkest and most neglected parts of ourselves. It's like a vessel that is constantly filling. At some point, it overflows. Depression is that overflow, a warning that something deeper is crying out for attention. When we allow ourselves to dive into the depressive experience, we begin to see what we normally ignore: fears, frustrations, and unresolved traumas. For example, a person may feel overwhelmed by work pressure and, instead of acknowledging that pressure, ends up isolating themselves and distracting themselves with momentary pleasures. Moreover, depression presents us with questions about what we truly value. It's as if we are living in a distorted image of happiness, seeking material goods when, at our core, what we desire is connection and authenticity. Depression thus becomes not just a painful state, but a strict teacher that can reveal to us the path to light through the integration of these forgotten parts.
Extraordinary how both of you show us that depression, although challenging, can be a unique opportunity for self-knowledge and integration of our shadows. Let's continue our exploration. A question that touches on a very delicate aspect of our inner journey. Rumi, is the loneliness of depression a deeper connection with the divine or a distancing from it?
Rubian, this is a question that reveals a fascinating paradox of the human experience. The loneliness of depression can be seen as a double-edged sword in our spiritual journey. On one hand, this state of deep introspection leads us to a sacred territory within ourselves, where the search for meaning intensifies and our soul finds space to dialogue with the divine. It's as if we are in a forced spiritual retreat, where silence and isolation allow us to feel our vulnerability in its purest form. In this state, many find a deeper connection with their spiritual essence, questioning their existence and seeking the light that emanates from true love. However, there is another side to this experience. When depression becomes too dense, it can act like a thick fog that obscures our vision of the sacred. It's as if a dark curtain falls between us and the divine source, creating an abyss between our soul and the experience of universal love. In that moment, we may feel completely disconnected from everything that is sacred. What determines whether this loneliness will be a portal to the divine or a distancing from it is how we choose to navigate these deep waters. It's an invitation to transform pain into poetry and find beauty even in darkness.
What a profound perspective on this paradox, Rumi. And you, Aristotle, how do you see this relationship between the loneliness of depression and our connection with the divine?
Look, Rubian, this question leads us to reflect on the very nature of our connection with the divine. The loneliness of depression often makes us believe that we are isolated from everything, including our spirituality. It's like being in a dark room where we temporarily lose our reference to the outside world. Aristotle teaches us that true fulfillment is closely linked to our ability to live virtuously and connect with our community. When depression isolates us, it can create significant obstacles to this natural expression of our humanity, hindering our ability to act virtuously and maintain meaningful bonds. True connection with the divine, in its essence, flourishes through our actions, relationships, and shared experiences. Therefore, when depression distances us from these fundamental elements, it can represent more of a separation than a closeness to our divine nature.
Remarkable how both perspectives show us that the relationship between loneliness and spirituality is complex and deeply personal. Let's move on. We've arrived at a question that touches on something very profound in our human journey. Rumi, is it necessary to lose the sense of life to find its true meaning?
Rubian, this loss of the sense of life is like a necessary passage in our journey of self-discovery. It's a moment when we find ourselves stripped of all the certainties we've built, like a dancer who suddenly finds themselves without their familiar music. In the disconcerting silence that follows, we begin to hear a deeper melody, the beat of our own being. When we lose what we thought gave meaning to our existence, we make space to discover deeper truths. It's as if we need to strip away all the superficial layers to find our true essence. In the sadness of that loss, paradoxically, we find an invitation to be reborn, to rediscover love and spirituality in a more authentic way. Impermanence becomes our teacher, showing us that every experience, even the most painful, is a valuable part of our journey. It is through this apparent emptiness that we can discover a deeper and truer meaning for our existence.
What a profound reflection on transformation through loss, Rumi. And you, Aristotle, how do you see this relationship between losing and finding the meaning of life?
Rubian, losing the sense of life can be seen as a crucial moment of realignment in our journey. Like an archer who needs to step back momentarily from the target to adjust their aim, sometimes we need to distance ourselves from what we thought was our purpose to find something more true. This temporary loss forces us to deeply question what really matters. It is through this questioning that we begin to seek what Aristotle called the highest good, that greater purpose that transcends momentary satisfactions and connects us with something more enduring and meaningful. In this process, difficulties transform into opportunities for growth and self-discovery, helping us find a meaning that truly resonates with the essence of our being, beyond superficial appearances and expectations.
Incredible how both of you show us that sometimes we need to lose ourselves to truly find ourselves. Let's move on to the next question. We've reached a very significant question about our inner journey. Rumi, how can we transform emotional pain into a source of wisdom?
Rubian, transforming emotional pain into wisdom is a delicate art, like that of a spiritual alchemist. Imagine yourself as a dancer in a trance, where each movement represents your emotions: pain, sadness, love. This dance allows us to express what is often hidden in the shadows of our soul. When we face pain, it's like diving into deep waters. Initially, we may feel disoriented and scared, but as we go deeper, we begin to find treasures of self-knowledge that we never imagined existed. Think of pain as the clay in the hands of a sculptor. When shaped with awareness and acceptance, this experience can transform into a masterpiece of wisdom. Each wound that heals teaches us a lesson, enriching our perception and increasing our capacity to love and connect with others. The secret lies in asking the right questions. What is this pain trying to teach me? What are the hidden truths behind this suffering? By doing so, you begin to walk the magical path where pain transforms into a rich source of wisdom and compassion.
What a beautiful perspective on the alchemy of pain, Rumi. And you, Aristotle, how can we transform our emotional suffering into wisdom?
Look, Rubian, emotional pain is like a labyrinth that, although it initially seems to lose us, can guide us to profound discoveries about ourselves. It is through this apparent chaos that we often reveal our true capabilities and strengths. For example, when we face a significant loss, we are forced to confront deep emotions and reconsider our values. It's like the work of a pencil, which must be sharpened and shaped repeatedly before producing something meaningful. Pain shapes us, teaching us about humility and empathy. The secret is to cultivate the ability to reflect, not just escaping from pain or sinking into it, but asking, what is this experience teaching me? In this way, we move forward not only stronger but also wiser, able to share this wisdom with others, positively impacting their journey.
Fascinating how both of you show us that pain, when embraced with awareness, can be our greatest teacher. Let's move on. We've reached a very delicate and profound question. Rumi, does resistance to emotional pain prevent us from finding peace?
Resistance to emotional pain is like trying to swim against a powerful current. The more we struggle, the more exhausted we become. Ignoring or repressing pain creates invisible barriers that keep us distant from true serenity. Pain, like love, is a fundamental part of the human experience. Instead of fleeing from it, we need to allow it to teach us. When we face pain, allowing it to flow through us, it transforms into a portal to our inner beauty. Each moment of accepted vulnerability is a step toward wisdom. As the ancient mystical poets taught, love and pain are intertwined, and only by accepting them can we achieve a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe. True peace arises when we open our hearts, embracing even the most uncomfortable feelings, recognizing that they are pathways to healing. By transforming pain into creative expression, we create a space where the authenticity of life reveals itself.
What a profound perspective on accepting our pains, Rumi. And you, Aristotle, how do you see this relationship between emotional resistance and inner peace?
Resistance to emotional pain, Rubian, is one of the greatest obstacles in our quest for inner peace. It's like trying to stop the seasons from changing, an impossible struggle that only brings us more suffering. When we resist our painful experiences, we create a vicious cycle that only intensifies our discomfort. Like a seed that needs to break its shell to germinate, our emotions need to be processed naturally. Attempting to stifle or avoid this natural process only creates more internal pressure, which will eventually find a way to manifest. It is through understanding and accepting our emotions, whether pleasant or unpleasant, that we find a state of clarity and serenity. Only when we face and acknowledge our pain, acting with courage and wisdom, can we transform it, allowing true peace to settle in our being.
Impressive how both perspectives show us that peace is not about resisting pain, but about learning to flow with it. Let's move on to the next question. Well, we've reached the end of this extraordinary episode. What an incredible journey we explored today about how depression can be a path to self-knowledge and transformation. I am immensely grateful to Rumi and Aristotle for sharing their ancient wisdom with us in such a profound and transformative way. You have shown us that even in the darkest moments, there is a light of learning and growth. It has been an honor to have you here, and I truly hope to welcome you again for more transformative conversations like this one. For those of you who made it this far, feel free to check out the other 2 videos that appear on your screen now. Just click on any of the images to watch. And if you enjoyed this content and want to continue receiving more deep reflections like these, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Here, we always bring relevant topics that help us better understand our human journey. Thank you for watching until now, and I wish you to be free from everything that takes away your peace.